Welcome to Go Bears Diecast Workshop, episode 41. Remember, if you like what you see, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ring that bell so that you'll be notified of my future videos. This happens to be a Cannonball build-off by Devil's Details. As you can see, there is some great participants of the hobby. Please make sure you check out their videos.
What do you say when there are no words? Feel a song that's never been heard.
So my assignment was a Lamborghini. As you saw in the video, Farrah Fawcett was a passenger in there. And so Devil's Details assigned this one to me, being the only female hobbyist that I know of. But let's see what we're working with. I've already drilled and tapped it. So we got a metal base, a red interior, tinted windshield, and the casting itself. So we can go ahead and get it into some stripper so we can start the fabrication. So you can see I've started out with the jeweler's saw to cut the doors off. Again, this is one of my first experiences with the jeweler's saw. I keep checking it to make sure I'm cutting the line straight on the door panels. A trick that I've finally discovered is to go ahead and use a black Sharpie to mark the door panels so that you can see them more easily as you're cutting the door away. This does take some time. Don't get in a rush. I also discovered that if you happen to snap the blade, depending on where you break it, you can go ahead and adjust the jaw of the saw itself and reuse what's left of the blade. I'm continuously checking. I guess that's a novice in me, trying to make sure that I stay on that line. It is not an easy task. I've watched some of the pros that do this all the time, and I'm not sure how they cut those lines so straight and don't snap blades, but I guess it comes with experience. Even though I was a little nervous, I was really excited about being able to use the jeweler's saw on this particular build. So you can see where I cut the line, and it looks pretty straight. Now here I've got the doors apart. You can see there's one. And there's the second one. Sorry about it being out of focus a little bit. Now I have to make a scissor type door. But you can see that I did cut them away successfully. Now I had to put some little tabs inside so that the door didn't fall in when we closed it. I just made that out of styrene and glued it to the sides. Now I've moved on to a clear glass that I got from a donor car. That way you guys will be able to see the detailed interior that I'm going to do. But I made the decision that I would cut away the side glasses so that we could, when the doors open, that the glass wouldn't be hanging right there. Again, using the jeweler's saw, doing it with plastic is a little interesting, but it did work out pretty well. It's better than, I think, using a cutting wheel on a Dremel. I think that's a little bit more abrasive to it and may melt the plastic itself. So the jeweler's saw seemed to be a good option for that. Again, you'll see where I used a red Sharpie to put the lines where I needed to cut, so they'll be very visible for me. You have to be very careful so you don't snap that windshield. And there it is, cut away. Just have to do some sanding with some fine sandpaper to get that rough edge off. I'm going to go ahead and test fit it in the casting. It's going to take a little bit of persuasion to get it in there, since I've added those little tabs. I think it looks pretty good. Now for the interior, I was thinking about that when I test fitted it. The sides of the interior that are up against the doors needed to be cut away as well, just to give it a nice clean look. So I just used an X-Acto knife and cut that area away. Now when I was doing this, I wasn't sure how sturdy it would be once it was fitted back into the casting itself, but it worked out pretty well. Again, just continuing to make sure that I'm cutting away exactly what I need, because I got one shot at this. Again, just take your time, as I have on this one, and everything should work out pretty well. Just about got it. A couple more cuts. I think that's got it. Looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and test fit it. Gotta remember to put the windshield back in. Let me grab that. Snap it in. Put the interior in. Looks pretty good. There's a shot of what you would see if you open the door. Now I started to fabricate the hinges. As you can see, I actually drilled into the front fenders right under the A-pillars. Almost looks like door handles on the inside. You can see how it fits pretty snug. Here's a closer look at the fabrication I did for that. There's also some brass pins, tubing, should I say, that I put the paper clips in so that it could move freely. Now I've moved on to making the antennas. There was actually 4 antennas on this particular car for the movie. And I used a piece of styrene, just a round tube, and a pin head. As you can see, I used a black marker and a silver paint pen. So now that is the CB antennas that are on the casting itself. And I'll cut them to size and bend them. And there it is. I'm trying to get it in focus for you guys. Now we're moving on to paint. Of course, the car was black, so I used Createx Wicked Black. Went on very nice. As you can see in the casting, I fabricated the spoiler as well. I didn't show you guys that, but that is a piece of styrene that was sanded down and then attached to the car in the front. It also has the 2 little fog lights underneath. You may be able to see those as well. And I straightened the rear spoiler. If you remember the initial casting, it was bent, but I went on and took care of that. And there's a couple of shots where you could see where the hinges and everything. And I plan to detail those door panels as well. There was a lot of fabrication in this particular build-off, and I wanted to try to capture everything about the car itself. There you can see the rear bumper that was also fabricated and bent out of styrene. Now we're going to put some clear on it. I used a 2K automotive clear. It goes on nice. I have speeded this up a bit. The video would have been extremely long if I actually just let it run at normal speed. And there were certain things I wanted you guys to see. Go ahead and put the top coat on the main casting. Now this top coat went on deep black, very shiny. Now you can see that I am installing the antennas. You can see that I detailed the tail lights as well. Now these things are extremely small, and I have just a small dab of super glue. I'm gonna have to hold it in place. I'm trying to steady myself as I install them. I'm using my tweezers. I'm gonna hold it until it sets. I think that turned out really well. I go ahead and place the next one. Again, using my hand to steady it. There we go. I'll make some minor adjustments. There's a real good shot of the tail lights there. So let's look back at what I started out with. White, dingy, dark glass, couldn't see the interior. Spoiler bent. And here's my end result. I got the 12 exhaust pipes on it as well. Got the antennas mounted. The fog lights are painted white. The interior is detailed in a tan with a black steering wheel. Hope you guys like the build. I had a great time. It definitely was a challenge. Made me bring my A game. And actually, I'd like to dedicate this build to my sister Angie. She loves fast cars. She has a couple of sports cars herself. And I'd like to thank Devil's Details for inviting me to the build. Hope everyone enjoyed it. Stay safe. And I'll leave you with a couple of glamour shots.